see my fight with temptation behind my smile. You never see the inner fury and the frustration behind my meek little glass of sparkling cider.
Is it just me, or is Power Book 2 starting to feel more and more like a soap opera every single week? I don't know, it could be because a bulk of the story feels like it takes place in this college, but it feels like a lot of teen drama that I just don't give a shit about. I don't know, we have professors sleeping with students, we have professors manipulating students, they give them weird assignments with secrets on cards, and this is supposed to teach them some kind of lesson. It really didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because I just sat there and I'm like, how do the professors know that the students are getting the secrets in the way they're supposed to? There's no way for them to monitor that. Then we have a love triangle between Tariq, Lauren, and Diana that we're supposed to care about, and they're trying to make us think it's just like the love triangle between Ghost, Angela, and Tasha. But there's no history between these new characters, so the relationships are a lot less interesting. And like all soap operas, Power Book 2 also features a lot of cringeworthy dialogue, more so in the most recent episode. Like Tariq's one classmate where her sole purpose is to basically say ratchet things. Brayden has these lame lines that he delivers even more lame, like I'm gonna get my swerve on because it's sex week. And Tariq actually describes Brayden and Riley as uncooked pieces of chicken cutlet laying in a bed. Does any of this sound like good dialogue to you? I constantly sit while watching this show and I keep thinking to myself, how did we go from Power to this? I understand this show is trying to establish its own identity, I get that. But if you're really trying to do that, maybe don't include Ghost in the title. Maybe don't include Big Rich Town as the theme song. And why have a drug subplot that feels forced because none of the characters seem to fit that lifestyle?
That makes sense.
I said many times that I don't think Tariq is believable in this role, and it continues here. So why not just make it the teen drama that it pretty much is, and maybe have a side plot that's about Tasha's trial? It would make much more sense for the powers that be to be manipulating Tariq into doing things against or for his mother, more so than it makes sense for him to be manipulating them, or anyone else for that matter. I'm really starting to feel like the drug game just has no business in this show. They simply did that to make it connected to Power in some way. And not to mention they have literally the worst drug dealers of all time with the Mary J. Blige family. I'm just not buying into any of it because it's too far-fetched and poorly executed. Going back to my original comparison, this is what a soap opera does. It takes situations and humorously exaggerates them, usually in the most cheesy way possible. This episode features a lot of twists and turns, but they all ultimately go nowhere. I don't feel like I know anything more about any of these characters than I did prior to this episode. Tariq is facing pressure from all sides like usual. His professors are sweating him, Brayden's sweating him, he's running out of product for the app. Two beautiful women are competing for his affections for some unknown reason. And through all this, he also found time this week to dispose of a body and make it look like a fake mugging with the help of Drew. This kid Tariq, man, he can do everything. So in this episode, Kane basically went MIA because of what happened in the last episode, because he's feeling some type of way, and rightfully so. Because of this, they don't have anyone to do the re-up, which is why they're missing products, so Monet actually goes along to the meeting and attempts to complete the transaction herself. I'll say again that Monet is one of the worst drug-dealing queenpins that I've ever seen in my life. Her operation is falling apart, she's constantly making piss-poor decisions. She's got her most well-adjusted kids basically doing the dirty work for her, and she still decides to take her unreasonable ass to a drug pickup, and of course she acts all Monet and then wonders why everything goes sideways. I really can't stand her, to be honest. Meanwhile, Kane is trying to convince her fuck buddy cop that they are both getting pushed out in favor of Tariq. At some point, Tariq actually discovers that Riley is in fact Sax's niece, but instead of just going to Brayden with this information and telling him straight up what's going on, I guess he felt that maybe that would be too unbelievable, I don't know. He instead tells Brayden that Riley actually came on to him during that party where she drugged him. Now we know Brayden is sensitive about her, so this wasn't necessarily the best way for Tariq to get his point across and to force Riley out. It only causes a brief rift between him and Brayden, but it's something that could have been avoided had he handled it a little bit better. Professor Jabari comes to the conclusion that Tariq is the one fucking Carrie, not Zeke. Of course he's misinformed. The way this show treats Tariq, I'm surprised he's not fucking her, to be honest. Jabari uses this information to basically give Tariq some phony work assignments and to manipulate him with the secret game that I mentioned earlier in this review. Jabari actually confronts Carrie about it as well, and she basically shuts him down saying, you're the one who's actually fucking a student, so you might want to back off. While that's very true, I literally can't stand either one of these characters. I really think they're the worst two teachers in the history of television. The big progression here with Tasha's case is that Saxe is bringing on Angela's sister to testify against her. He basically has to put someone on the stand to make it look like he's still trying to convict Tasha, even though he's not really trying to. Of course, he goes a little bit too far with his questioning, and the sister basically tells the courtroom that Tasha could have very well been the person that had Angela and Ghost killed. This, of course, upsets Method Man and Tasha, so Method Man goes to confront Saxe, but Saxe already has a new plan in place. So basically, this whole courtroom scene kind of amounted to nothing. The ultimate goal, no matter what happens in the courtroom, is for them to convict Tariq of these crimes, not Tasha. The fact that bringing Angela's sister into the courtroom is basically nothing more than smoke and mirrors. It's simply a way to get Angela's sister back into the story so she can have her conversation with Tasha, basically telling Tasha she should just reveal who actually killed Ghost. There's an attempt here to make Angela's sister and Tasha seem like one and the same, like they've been through the same things, they've had to deal with the same tragedies, they've both been wronged, so they're kind of trying to form a bond between the two, and I guess Angela's sister is kind of influencing Tasha now, because for a moment, Tasha actually looks like she's thinking about possibly telling them what really happened with Ghost. If this show actually decides to end with Tasha ratting on Tariq for killing Ghost, after we've had to sit through this season full of bullshit and nonsense, everyone who watches this show should be pissed off because they basically wasted our time. Fuck you! If that's what they're leading to and what they ultimately go with, you basically could have ended this show on the very first episode and just deaded all of this. The bottom line is this show is completely erratic each and every week. You never know what you're going to get. It's all over the place and doesn't really seem to have a plan. I just don't understand what the end game is. Like, what are we working towards? They're trying so hard to keep us on our toes that all these twists and turns are coming off gimmicky because it's just so unnatural. And as I mentioned before, it makes the story very convoluted and not in a good way. It makes it really hard to take anything in this show seriously because it's just constantly people doing these random things and double-crossing each other, and none of it makes any sense. In my personal opinion, Power Book 2 has basically been nothing but a huge disappointment up until this point. They dropped the ball in every sense of the word, and there's very little redeemable qualities about this series, if any.
That's right, it stinks!
So let me know what you thought about the most recent episode of Power Book 2. I obviously did not care for it. Let me know in the comments down below. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time right here on Real Shift. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Y'all be cool. Right on.